Now, today is World Tourism Day, and this year the day is celebrated under the theme Rethinking Tourism, and it will be seen as an opportunity to rethink how we do tourism for a more sustainable, inclusive and resilient sector. Now, the past few years have seen the pandemic, and it brought on a rather detrimental damage to the tourism industry in the country. And in addition, there are also challenges that were brought about by the very pandemic, COVID-19. And 2021 also saw the infamous July riots, which left substantial amount of damage, not only to business, but also to livelihoods. And of course, we want to talk more about this. So we're joined by Themba Khumalo, who's the acting CEO at SA Tourism. Themba, so good to have you with us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina. How are you doing? And good morning to all of your viewers all around South Africa.
Themba, you know, it's of course a great time to be speaking to you. September is Tourism Month, and of course today is a World Tourism Day. So let's talk about the significance of today, and of course, how is South Africa marking the event?
So from a South African standpoint, we have seen exceptional, growth based on our statistics as at the end of June versus the same period last year. We are up in terms of domestic trips, 114%, and we're up 175% on tourism spend, which shows that from a domestic tourism market standpoint, the recovery is well underway. We're also seeing from an international market standpoint, growth out of the USA, for example, is up 331%, and out of Europe, almost 600%, 561% growth. Overall growth versus prior period of last year, 147% growth in the tourism sector. So clearly the numbers don't lie. We can see, that tourism is well underway in terms of recovery, and that the resultant impact in terms of creating jobs, sustaining livelihoods, and also just bringing joy to South Africans and to international visitors coming into the country. It is absolutely phenomenal the way in which we're seeing the growth trajectory happening right now. And it is World Tourism Day today. We're celebrating the recovery of tourism and the growth that we're seeing in the market. I'm actually on my way to the Ecology Lifestyle Farm out in Boshendal here in the Western Cape for the celebrations of World Tourism Day. It is absolutely stunning. The sun is out, beautiful scenery. So yeah, everything is looking great in terms of tourism recovery.
Well, I'm just going to say thanks for not inviting us, Themba. We will just imagine how beautiful it is out there. But, speaking of the recovery of the sector, one of the issues, of course, at the moment, Leanne and I were talking about this earlier, is just the cost of flights in South Africa. That is, if you can find a flight at the moment. So what sort of impact is that currently having on the sector?
Look, having more demand than you have supply, is a good problem to have. It's actually an indicator that, there is, recovery in the sector. The pressure on the aviation industry is caused by, the war in Russia and Ukraine, which has disrupted fuel supplies around the world. It has impacted every single sector. So tourism is is not uniquely affected by it. But what we're also seeing is that if you have been following, the Emirates Airlines, is increasing frequencies into South Africa. Belgium Airlines landed for the first time about a week ago. We're also seeing, Delta Airlines and United Airlines out of the USA that have, announced that they're going to be increasing their frequencies into the country. And most importantly, Sakina, SAA has been 1 year back in the air, in the skies, and increasing frequencies on the African continent, because as you know, almost 80% of our international arrivals come from the continent. So in terms of getting that airlift, back from the continent, absolutely phenomenal growth that we're seeing. But let me also say this, Sakina, that our road transportation infrastructure is also great. We've got great tour bus companies that take people around South Africa, and it is actually a lot better for tourists coming from outside and even domestically to travel by road, travel by rail, because you get to see more of the country that way, and also to leave a lot more of the spend as you go along on the tours. So there's other ways of getting around the country that augment, the airlift. So I believe that if you take the totality of our mobility mix, that we can still get our tourists around the country for them to see and enjoy more of the country, in fact.
And then just a final one very quickly, Themba, with the current economic situation in the country, any message to South Africans in terms of using tourism as a revenue generator in order to sustain ourselves at this time?
I'm actually, I appreciate that you asked that question. If you look at the job creation numbers, tourism contributes 3.2% to the GDP of the country. It has come down, obviously, from the 2019 period, but we're seeing the growth trajectory increasing versus last year. Also, in terms of job creation itself, not just GDP impact, but job creation itself is 7.3% versus prior period. So tourism is the way in which we can really recover, our overall economy. The barriers to entry are a lot lower. It is able to bring in young people into the sector. And over the next period, we are going to really be investing in a lot of content creation opportunities, pulling in young South Africans to advertise the country by creating content wherever they are. And we use that content in order to, to communicate into international markets. Instead of us making one piece of advertising, we can get 60 million South Africans to all participate in terms of selling the country domestically and internationally. So those programs are coming up now. At the beginning of the month, we had our travel week where we were selling, forward selling holidays, at wholesale prices. And we saw extreme uptake in terms of all of those opportunities. So
Themba,
we are in good shape. Things are looking up. Thank you very much.
I think what we need to do is arrange for a more discursive discussion around these matters. But thank you so much for speaking to us today on World Tourism Day. The acting CEO of SA Tourism, Themba Khumalo, there speaking to us.